Boo! This episode of Spooky Swirl was brought to you with the support of our terrible, horrible, evil backers over at patreon.com/cinemaswirl. $5 OTP backers get instant access to every episode of our monthly exclusive bonus show, Cinema Swirl, where Kevin and I review bad movies. And coming up very early in November, we'll be reviewing Alien vs. Predator. Now's an excellent time to sign up. Something like 57 episodes up there already. You'd get instant access. If you want to find out more, head on over to patreon.com/cinemaswirl. Right, let's get spooky swirling.
Cinema Swirl! It's not an emergency, it's episode 111. Which for you US listeners, probably some Irish ones as well, just give it a quick Google. They don't all have to be rhymes. They can be wordplay as well.
Yeah.
They can be wordplay, you know, and there's nothing more terrifying than wordplay that is regionally specific. It's a spooky swirl. Hello everyone, it's me, your old ghoul, Captain Kevin, joined as I am always by my OT Sam Chaplin, and today it's a special spooky spectacular because today we're doing the famous zombie movie whose name, despite being told several times, escapes my broadcast colleague Sam Chaplin here this evening, and we're going to ride this out for as long as possible.
Sure. So I did ask Kevin to remind me of the name of this film, and it's something of the dead.
It's not that though. It's not that.
No, it's not. It's not something of the dead. There's not like a bad.
Good thing it's a spooky swirl, Sam, because as a podcaster, this is a nightmare.
It's day or dawn? Dawn of the dead. Dawn of the dead. Day of the dawn of the.
No, you're skipping ahead.
Dawn of the planet of the dead. Night.
Stop that.
Night of the dead. Dead.
Almost.
Night. Dawn.
This ain't your grandma's dead.
Oh,
because both of my grandmothers are dead. It's not just the regular dead.
Living
it's
dead.
The night. There you fucking go.
Dawn of the living dead. No, night of the living dead.
You're fine. There.
Night of the living dead.
And what you should do now is just get that and edit it in for all the instances you got it wrong.
Yeah.
So people tuning in are thinking, this lad's really geared up for Night of the Living Dead. He said the name correctly several times up until this point.
Let me just get a clean take so I can edit it into all the...
Dawn. 3, 2, 1...
I did my goof too early. And that is dawn of... Night of the... Planet of the...
Have you been taken over by some sort of a poltergeist or something? What's this?
Ooh.
Yeah.
It makes me forget things.
The real villain here, the real Halloween hijinks is the spectre of old age that is making you forget the simple title of Night of the Living Dead.
Living in the dawn of the dead.
Just remember the famous song from Rocky IV. Night of the Living Dead, because that's how you know that Apollo's going to die, because he comes out to that song and he's all like happy and like, listen to it, mate. James Brown's singing your fucking epitaph here.
In all seriousness, Night of the Living Dead, zombies.
There's nothing frivolous or silly about the Living Dead, Sam.
So if this is the OG, why is Shaun of the Dead not Mike of the Living Dead? Why are they punning on a later one, you know?
Because Edgar Wright is not just a master of doing that thing where the camera goes fast and you're like, Jesus, that breakfast was down him in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Not only can he do that, master of wordplay as well. I should get him to do some of these intro rhymes. That'd be handy, I think.
When he's got some time when he's not doing McDonald's adverts, which he has.
Excuse me?
You know the bow, where they're all doing the eyebrow thing? That's Edgar Wright. He directed that McDonald's advert.
It's a shame that Kevin Spacey was in all of those McDonald's ads as well, because it feels really awkward every time you go get a burger now. Like, oh, he's acquitted. I'm like, no, it's still a bit weird, you know? Tastes off.
Real fame.
So, what do you know? You know at least that this is the OG. And when you say OG, you mean the...
Original ghouls.
Original ghouls.
Yeah.
The word ghoul is used in a lot of the media surrounding this, so you've hit the nail on the head there. When you say the original,
yes,
are you talking that this is the first recorded instance of Western zombies?
Are there like Eastern zombies?
I mean, there's folklore zombies.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Haitian zombies, etc.
Folklore zombies were one of my favourite rock bands in the early 2000s. They were good. They were great.
They were good.
Well, if this is this I think feels like OG Western zombie film is the understanding I have. Because I feel like zombies are relatively contemporary, apart from obviously folklore zombies. But this kind of the modern zombie we know today with our Walking of the Living Dead, The Last of the Living Dead, all the zombie stuff we've got now.
Red Dead, Living Dead, Redemption.
all of that stuff has come from this, I would imagine. Night of the Living Dead.
Now, the fact that you called it 3 other George A. Romero zombie movies in the intro to this makes me think that maybe you've not seen Dawn of the Dead or Day of the Dead or the remake of Dawn of the Dead. You've probably seen Shaun of the Dead, I'm assuming.
Afternoon of the Dead? Is that one?
Answer the question.
I've seen Shaun of the Dead, which is it's a goofy, fun zombie film.
Was that your first exposure to zombie movies? Because I felt 2004 there was kind of a renaissance between that and the remake, and I got the DVD box set as soon as I could get my grubby hands on it of the original George A. Romero trilogy.
I think it was I don't think it was my first experience of zombies. I think that might have come through video games, weirdly. I remember watching my brother play one of the Resident Evil games. And I also feel like I've probably watched some Resident Evil... Well, I know I've watched some Resident Evil films.
Have you?
Yeah.
Which ones, as a matter of... Because there's like a bajillion of them now. I think there's more movies than there are games, probably, at this point.
They've probably got a stop-motion one on Netflix or some shit. But I think... I've watched...
Wes Anderson presents Resident Evil.
Resident Evil.
And you're like, Bill Murray's playing Wesker? I didn't think this could get any more uncomfortable. Here we are.
Maybe the first couple, I think. But I think late 90s, early aughts, there's a lot of zombie stuff out there. So I think I've absorbed some of it.
Yeah, I feel like 2010 and 11, when I came to these rocky shores, I heard a lot of chat about it being like, an oversaturation of zombie stuff. Like every game had a zombie mode. There were too many zombies. There was iZombie, the zombie spin-off of iCarly, obviously. There was lots of zombie content. And many were saying, we've reached peak zombie.
Yeah.
But that didn't kind of coincide with any sort of a downturn in the zombie business. I feel like there's been plenty of zombie movies, games and series and spin-offs and franchises that have come since.
Well, when we were at uni, you had all those posters, didn't you, that keep calm and zombie, and you had those. But there was peak zombie, I think, in like 2010 or something like that. The kind of like lad who's got a book of like how to survive the zombie apocalypse, and he's like, I've got a baseball bat or something.
Read it cover to cover, mate. Cover to cover.
And use that cover to batter a zombie on the head.
Batter a zombie, exactly.
Yeah.
So, did you ever get swept up in a zombie craze then? Because by not being into the movies, I feel like a lot of your formative years, it would have been the kind of, I don't know, adjacent zombie stuff or incidental zombie stuff. Like, were you a fan of any zombie things? Like, everyone's had to watch The Walking Dead.
Yeah,
it's just one of those things that you unfortunately have to do at some point in your life.
I think it's much like when I was at school and I used to hang around with the goths, but I wasn't necessarily a goth. I hung around with zombie enthusiasts. Of course I did. They were the same goths. But I didn't necessarily absorb loads of zombie content. But like Resident Evil is a zombie touch point. 28 Days Later.
Yeah.
I like that. I saw that.
You have seen that. I know. I was thinking a Danny Boyle swirl might be in order at some point. Because I just saw Danny Boyle the other day, but that's for another episode. He was tapping his toes.
Oh, what was he doing?
That's one for the foot freaks.
So And there's like some zombie stuff in The Simpsons, maybe, and in cartoons and things. And yeah.
It doesn't sound like it ever scared you, nor did it kind of grab you as like and it's something that you would identify as a fan of as a teen or a young adult.
Yeah. But, I'm not against it. I'm not like massively for it, but I'm not freaked out that much by zombies compared to some other ghouls and baddies.
What's the scariest ghoul for you then? Because I know The Thing you thought that was spooky, and I know The Exorcist had its moments on previous spooky swirls. But is there a particular booger man that gets Sam scared in the night?
If there was some kind of the things that I'm scared of. So if there was some kind of like Spider-Man, that would be the scariest thing of all, I would imagine. Some kind of
Imagine that. And then he'd make you feel like a Spider-Man as well.
God.
8 out of 10. Awful.
So yeah, just a big spider would be the scariest. So zombies, zombies I think at this time moved slowly. There was definitely a marked thing of like one day, summer, I don't know what it was. It might have been 28 days later or something.
It was.
Like, they can fucking run now, mate. They're quick.
Fast.
You're fucked. Because that was like the relaxing, not relaxing, but the relief.
Chill ghoul,
of zombies was if you can put a bit of distance between you and them, you got time, Whereas these ones, they started training, they started working out, and that's not what you want.
So we're going back in time a bit here. And does the name George A. Romero mean anything to you in that essence?
I mean, I know the name, but
I was wondering, where it would come up if you've not watched the movies, though. That's what's interesting to me, because I don't think you're someone who would have played a lot of, Resident Evil games either, have you? Or
no, I just watched my brother play them and been aware of the lore. I don't mean the lore as in I wasn't old enough to play Resident Evil, so
I figured, not allowed. You live in England long enough, your ear tunes to these idiosyncrasies.
My brother was trying to pass me the controller. I was like, no, I know the lore. No. I'm too young, but I will watch. I don't know where. I mean, you see the name about, and I know he's the zombie guy.
The zombie guy.
Yeah. Is there another Romero who's done video games? I feel like the Doom or Quake guy is a Romero, but I don't know.
John Romero.
John Romero. They're not the same Romero dynasty, are they? They just happen to be called Romero.
Imagine that. You have a stranglehold on all teenage boys from the 90s. Good Lord.
Yeah, but other than zombie stuff, I don't know if he's done much else, as far as I'm aware.
So the theory I have here now is that you may go into this with perhaps a raised eyebrow because it's an older a horror movie, an older horror movie.
No.
I think the oldest horror movie that we've probably covered on Cinema Swirl. So I don't know if you think that that's going to impact the fear factor, because obviously we've talked about old shit, but can it be scary old shit and scarier because it's old?
This is completely unrelated, but the other day in my YouTube recommendations, some guy was filming a video of himself and then putting that on VHS and then digitizing it and then putting that through VHS over and over again until it was so degraded and gross that it looked fucking spooky. And he was playing classical music in the background, and that started to get all warbly and horrible. All of that to say, old shit can be scary.
Okay, the capacity is there.
Yeah. But I don't really know when this is from. I imagine it's the 70s, but it could, from what you're saying, it could be earlier.
It's 1968, and far be it from me to run with the joke of course, they didn't have colour cameras back in those days, which I really want to do, but no, that is a stylistic choice. They opted, we're going to do a black and white. That is the way we're going to do things. Many argue that the black and white nature of it makes it scarier, because if it was in colour, it may not have that kind of almost timeless quality to it.
Kevin, are you telling me that the Beatles were around at the same time as zombies? Because if so, this is a Hard Day's Night of the Living Dead that we're going into.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And the song Help was about when George was having his intestines ripped out by a ghoul.
I didn't realise that zombies went that far back.
Yeah, it's true.
70s guys. Yeah.
Late 60s. There you go. And they're all like, they're coming to get you, John Lennon. He's like, no one will ever cancel me. I'm beyond reproach. I'll bring about world peace and then I'll die. And nothing's going to change that. And he did. So here we are.
Yeah.
Sam, I think you're going to have a good time. I don't know if it will be a point and laugh good time or a chilly good time.
Yeah. Ooh, I could go for a chilly good time right now.
And I feel like I'm not the best judge of how you'll get on with this because me and zombies had a very particular relationship because one of my earliest memories of being scared shitless was indeed watching my brother play Resident Evil 2 on the PC. And I hate to break it to you, he sucked ass at it. So he got eaten over and over and
scary.
over.
Yeah.
And it was all slow and, lo-fi. And that wet manipulation haunted my dreams for a long time. And then I saw Dawn of the Dead similarly around the same time. And I was like, this is the most horrible, scary thing ever. Zombies gave me nightmares. At a point when I was like 8 or 9 or thereabouts, where I'm like, come on, zombies, I'm not going to get nightmares about ghoulies anymore. And I did. So I was really scared of zombies and I would avoid zombie media quite passionately until Shaun of the Dead and the Dawn of the Dead remake came out, both of which had either enough humor or enough high-octane action to make me no longer scared of zombies. And then I was like, I'm going to go watch the old scary ones. And there was a great thrill to that of watching something that once terrified you and now you're like, get in, come on, kill the... And so this one, though, sits in a kind of a strange zone because I was obsessed with the remake of this, which is kind of schlocky and a little bit more tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah.
But I do think there's something quite haunting about this original. And because of a mistake they made when they published it, it is in the public domain. So it is available everywhere. Sam, head over to ITV Player now or BBC iPlayer. Pick your poison.
Wow.
You fill your boots with all the free versions that are out there.
All right. I'm excited.
And I thought, as a teenager, I was like, fuck yeah, George A. Romero. Dismantle capitalism. Make it oh no, it was a mistake.
Put it on Bandcamp. pay what you want. No. It just fell out of the copyright period. Okay. I mean, so I'm guessing these zombies are like brains... And that's the, classic vibe. I'm
guaranteeing you nothing other than there are zombies. And I'd ask you to assume or to guess what's going to happen.
There are zombies. Yeah. There are humans. The humans try and get away from the zombies. The real zombies are the humans.
Oh!
I know, but actually, if this is the OG zombie, that's sort of, but then maybe it's a parable about human nature.
Oh, so were you suggesting there because this was an original OG zombie movie that it might just be the real zombies were those scary zombies? Did you see them? Whoa! Like a zombie coming after me or something.
Yeah. I'm hoping the real zombies are the zombies, and it's just literally humans v zombies in a battle of who will not die. Well, the living dead. I'm trying to do the maths on the living dead because they're. Pick a lane, What's going on there?
It's a bit confusing there.
Yeah.
Not as confusing as this. Draw the circle and write 111 on it in red blood and summon the demonic mail bag non-emergency version.
Welcome to the spooky demon mailbag that we've summoned out of the ground. And if you've got any questions, queries, comments, or curses, you can send them in to cinemaswirl@ghoulmail.biz.
Now, we do not actually own that
but
site.
Send it anyway.
Just send it anyway. Who knows?
Yeah.
It'd be like, when you'd ring 666 on a rotary phone, go, who's going to answer? Anyone.
If you send it, you might get the is it like email demon that comes back to you? There's an email demon that says, you've gone to the wrong place.
I can't mail this. You fucking curse him right back. You let him know with your keyboard powers. There's a new way which you can give us messages, by the way, folks. If you are a backer at patreon.com/CinemaSwirl Sam.
Yes, so I went to the scariest place of all, and that's one of Patreon's new features, which is the Patreon. I went to Patreon's live chat feature to source some questions here.
Rolling it out.
And we got some good ones, so thank you to the folks in the chat over on patreon.com/cinemaswell. The issue is, however, that the names you can have as your username on Patreon are not always just a human name. So our first question comes in from Dream Operator Speaking in Tongues, who writes the following.
This is a great idea, this.
It's a good name and it probably means something. Famously, after the release of The Exorcist, it was reported people started attending church more out of fear for the devil. Has a horror movie ever made you scared of something you originally didn't believe in? Kevin, thoughts?
I mean, definitely, in hand with Resident Evil, certainly Dawn of the Dead made me scared of something that I didn't think could make me scared in zombies.
Yes.
I'm trying to think of maybe more recent examples. I will say, there's certain movies that didn't scare me as a teenager that now as an adult do scare me a good deal more. Like Panic Room, that kind of a home invasion, back when I was a kid, I'm like, we'll ring the police. What's so bad about that? And there's something, I watched Panic Room a couple of years ago and I was like, oh, is that because I'm owled now? Is that what's happened here? That's made me a little bit more scared of if a home invasion happened. Oh, I don't even have a panic room like Jodie Foster. I just got The Office.
The thing you now believe in is burglars. Is that, am I correct? Yeah.
I never thought they were real.
No. You just thought they're like the Hamburglar. Now, my thoughts on this question, and this is probably going on a little bit of a tangent, but I was trying to think of what horror films scared me particularly growing up. And there was also a message from Tristan writing, he just wants more chat about the film Saw and indeed the Saw franchise. And so, I saw Saw days of yore when I was, but right.
Enough of your hee-haw, Mr. Saw.
I watched Saw as a young teen, and it was very scary. And Sophie pointed something out recently to me that Saw is essentially, because she'd not seen it before, we watched the first one, it's just scary Taskmaster. Which, when you start to think about it like that, and you know that people like Alex Horne are out there in the world, it makes me a bit scared that, things could change and I could be trapped in an actual horrible game.
But Sam, can you guess which members of the Saw universe that John Kramer's got a crush on? Like you can so obviously guess Greg Davies. We should just go for a walk around Camden, you and I, glamorous female contestant on Taskmaster.
I was then not sure, if Alex Horne is a Jigsaw figure or if Jigsaw himself needs his own little assistant. But that's the lad on the puppet on the bike, I
was going to say, Sam, your Saw lore is almost as egregious in its missing elements as your Taskmaster lore there. Yeah. If anything, Alex would be the recovered drug addict from Saw 2.
Yes.
Or he might be at a push for the real deep dive Saw heads. He'd be Hoffman because he's the man who's actually making the reality of the very convoluted plans take place. And I'm pretty sure there's a scene at the start of every season of Taskmaster where Alex Horne takes out a series of photographs of the contestants and points at them.
Yes. And you know what? Now I think about it, Jigsaw is only really there for the studio records. It's not present.
Put in the graft.
But in terms of things I didn't believe in that I believe in now, I don't know. But a good horror film can make you for 12 to 24 hours think that there might be a ghost or a demon about. I feel like that's the thing. Not realistically, but you still get the willies up you. It's.
I think you and I had a little moment with The Birds where we're like, they are kind of scary though, aren't they?
Yeah. Yeah.
That didn't make us scared of birds, but it made us thankful for the docile nature of most British and Irish birds.
Yes. Again, I'm just thinking of scary stuff. I think trees are scary. Do you?
Well, I was going to bring up Troll 2 over on Cinema Swill, where obviously lots of fun was being had there, but turning into a tree is a concern for my own welfare.
Yeah, I mean, like,
I'd be an awful tree. Ugh.
well, trees can like grow around stuff. So if you were there for long enough, the tree could absorb you, and that's a real thing that could happen. So
Yeah, and honestly, if you live your life like me, i.e. in the modus operandi of crazy paving, the idea of a tree coming and wrecking your shit, very scary indeed.
yes, very scary. So
Not
thank
that
you very
crazy, come on, tree.
So thank you, Dream Operator Speaking in Tongues, for your question over on the Patreon new live chat Discord-esque feature that they've rolled out. There's an additional question from Johnny. There we go.
There you go.
That's easier to grasp.
Here is Johnny
yes.
with his question, like in the movie.
Johnny writes, thinking of some of the big bads from famous slasher franchises, Jason, Michael Myers, Ghostface, etc., who do you reckon you'd be able to take down? And which one is knocking you off before the film's opening credits?
All right, it's safe to say, Sam, that you and I would fucking run up against a Mike Myers and we wouldn't be able to put it into them. That's just, that's just the nature of the franchise.
Yeah.
That being said, Ghostface from Scream, I've seen most of the Scream movies. I've watched most of David Arquette's filmography and wrestling career. I know I ain't afraid of no Ghostface. I'd fucking go in there and give him the kick, go in there and give him the kick and give him the box as well.
Yeah.
Also, as well, I reckon Freddy Krueger, you look like one big hemorrhoid, mate. Coming at you with the tube of germaloids, you're donezo.
Yeah, I mean, look, some of these lads, on a good day, I reckon I could spark them out. I think, one clean shot is all it would take, and I could get
this is our new section, by the way, Talking Tough with Sam and Kevin, where we size up fictional characters from 40 years ago. Yeah, we could take him. The Thing, easy. Just a dog.
Freddy Krueger, mate. You think you can take me? You're the one dreaming, mate. Bam, down he goes. Because he's the one who gets in your dreams, isn't he? But I'm going to knock him out so that he'll be in the dream world. I'm going to punch him back into dream. I'm going to hit him really hard. He's going to fall over.
What's that? Sorry, the really badly behaved child from The Exorcist? What's that? Is it a knock on Mr. Mahon's door? I've got a badly behaved child that needs to go into the back of your classroom because I can't handle him. Been there, done that, got the t-shirt, and sent the child back rehabilitated. No Christianity necessary.
Yeah. And I reckon I could take the child in a fight. So, that's easy. I know that doesn't count, but probably could,
When you're dealing with a dysfunctional child, you throw it back at them. Your mother sucks cocks in hell. Your mother sucks cocks in hell.
Yes.
How about that? And they'll have they'll think twice. They'll think twice.
Do it in front of the other demon children. And
that's so cool now, isn't it? And then what I'll do is I'll show them what happens to them in Exorcist 2. And they'll be like, oh, what? Yeah. No.
And then you'll play everyone the song from Exorcist 2 and they'll all be rocking out. Like, fucking great. It's so good. So good. That
so
song.
Good.
Yeah.
Thanks again.
No problem. But yeah, I mean, most of the big bads, I reckon I could,
Do you reckon you take these zombies then, Sam?
Well, look, I've seen, posters at uni poster fairs that are like, warning, zombie, shoot him in the head. It's you got to get him in the head,
Yeah.
I don't mean like psychologically, be like, oh, you're a bastard. All right, I don't know how to get into anyone's head, but, I'm not playing mind games with these zombies. I'm playing brain games with them and smashing them to pieces.
Brain games.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've done some brain training, and I'm going to train their brain to be blown to bits by a shotgun. You just got to get the head off.
Show them their brain age score, and they're like, oh, no.
Yeah.
I'm rubbish at Sudoku now. Well, Sam, if we've got our ghoulish bag sent back to the netherworld and you're ready for a stroll through an old black and white graveyard, I reckon it's time for you and I to go on down to the demons of hell and come back up again, because it's not set down there, it's set in Earth. Let's go do a spooky swirl. Arg. And we're back. Sam, initial brain reaction to Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah. Yeah.
What the fuck was that? What was that? What is anyone going to glean from that?
I'll be honest, for one of the few times I forgot that initial gut reaction was part of what I need to do when I come back.
People tune in for that noise.
No, I know. They want the IGR.
I've got people DMing me saying, fucking timestamp his IGR, and I want that. And that's like, I have not enough time to listen to all my podcasts. I want Sam's noise, and that's it.
Sam's noise, Star White Brighton, and done. Next episode.
Patreon plug, done. We're good.
They want your rhyme at the start, my initial gut reaction, Star Wipe, out.
They're going to fucking hate this episode. Non-emergency call 111. What the fuck is going on?
It was all right, but it's all dusty old shit, isn't it? It's dusty. It's the fucking old shit. I know we talked about this in the 60s. It's black and white, but you snuck in some old shit.
Just so it is a stylistic choice. I was gagging earlier. It was a joke. In 1968, no one was saying, you better make this in black and white. Unless it was made in Pennsylvania, not in Pleasantville.
It was made in pencil lead, mate, because it's all grey.
So are you telling me that because you didn't get your splashes of red, your gore, that you were left wanting after this spooky swirl?
I'm not saying it's necessarily that it's bad, but I don't know. I don't...
This is weird now, because I felt I'd just be shepherding your good time. And ferrying you along. I don't think I've got it in me to try and change your mind on this.
Look, let's dig into some real positives. This is the first film we've ever done for this where the full film is available on the Wikipedia page of the film.
That's amazing! Never mind ITV Player. That's fucking wild.
You scroll down and then there's a little picture. It's like Night of the Living Dead brackets full film. And I thought what you meant when you said it had fallen into the public domain was that happened relatively recently. And people
No, they just filmed it in the wrong form. Yeah, that was it. And there are a lot of different versions of this. I remember a friend of mine had a colour version of it. And the old way of colorizing things, they literally just painted all the cells in the film. Yeah. So all the zombies are all green or whatever it is. And there are a lot of modern recuts of it. I know, not Giorgio Romero, but the other writer, he did kind of a weird ass version that came out a couple of years ago where he mixed in new footage with the old, and it's really fucking jarring.
Right.
But you were not. Am I going to be burying the lead massively here when I assume that you were not scared watching this film? You don't seem like a man who's had a case of the terrors this evening.
I can't say there were any scares for me, but my God, this film is readily available. So, it swings and roundabouts, really. And that roundabout is available in full HD on YouTube, legally, legitimately, with full subtitles, correct captions, which is amazing.
Are you telling me that your amazement at the proliferation of this movie has actually eaten into its intent of scaring you? Is that it? You're just too impressed by its widespread nature? How could you be scared by that?
Yeah, it's just so available to me that I can't be frightened. Whereas if I had to dig into fucking, going through, if I had to boot up a VPN to fucking get a hold of this, then maybe I'd be more scared.
Ooh.
But no, there's no issue at all getting a hold of this.
Could I be so bold as to inquire? Because I feel it's always very important with the spooky swirl, particularly.
Yeah.
The circumstances under which you watched this movie.
Sure.
Did you lights off, tea, supper, dog, etc.? What was your setup here?
It was me and Stanley on our own in the dark. Post tea. This was after tea and after Big Brother.
So you were resting and digesting and not digressing because you were watching the movie like you were meant to.
I felt like it was appropriate to watch it full night time.
Like this I watched this post 10 p.m., which for me is late.
Okay, now I'm going to come at you with an alternate because I have watched this movie a bajillion times in the past. Many a time, a post 10 p.m. I would say is just that would be written on the back of the package. It'd be saying that's kind of how you should do it. Counterpoint: I watched this at 8 a.m. this morning.
Wow.
Because it was really dark and I watched it in bed. And it's gotten really cold and dark. We've had a really balmy, long, hot October and now it has become cold and dark. So I thought, what better way to start the day than by watching a scary movie? And it was an odd feeling. I watched most of Saw in bed while I had illness, last month. And that was fun. And this was a different vibe. I don't think it quite... Something about an old movie at that time of morning, I felt like I was like on my deathbed or something like that.
But you'd seen Saw before, right? That wasn't your first Saw.
I'd seen Saw 1 and 2 before.
Yes.
But we were sick for a few days and Joe was feeling froggy. So we watched all of Saw. And I would say if you are going to watch Spiral from the Book of Jigsaw, I recommend you do that in bed as well.
Okay. The whole franchise you can watch in bed.
That's what Chris Rock would have wanted.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You could go onto the MGM casino on your phone right there in bed and get betting, you know?
More positives, Kevin. More positives.
Is it a lovely font? Is that the...
Yes!
Yes, it's a good one. It's a great one.
The lowercase night and then the all caps of the Living Dead looked very, very neat. It was very neat. I liked it. It was well designed.
You know what I'm going to say to you, Sam? I do believe it's ahead of its time because I'm going to say this now. Upmarket late 1970s department store font.
Oh, 100%. That is a very, very accurate description.
See? The grubby zoologist Kevin has picked up a few bits from his erstwhile font friends over the years. I can blag my way arse backwards into placing a font outside of its time and space.
That was a perfect description. It doesn't necessarily suit the tone of the film, but it kind of also does.
I mean, it doesn't say Night of the Living Dead. It says, coming up later on tonight on RTE1, Night of the Living Dead.
Yes.
A reminder, it's 1981.
Yeah. And we start, which is, for us, a spooky swirl tradition. I can think of at least one film that's done this previously. Spooky music and a car going up a road,
Ooh.
And then, because it's dusty old shit, all the credits happen at the start.
How'd you feel about that?
That's come on. One of the things I look forward to most about a film is being like, oh, that extra 5 minutes of runtime that I was expecting, that's all credits. That's gone. Goodbye. But with this, it's like, no, the whole thing is the thing, and I've got to watch all these credits.
That's a preview of our Patreon content, where in Cinema Swill, we usually have a good 2-minute chat about the length of the credits and how excited we were for them to come up on the bad movie.
Like, if it was Keith Lemon the film, the credits are a blessed relief to be like, oh, thank God, I can chop off that 5 minutes off the end. Oh, wait, no, there's like outtakes with Keith Lemon. But, enough about that. Spooky music, car going up a road. We're heading towards a graveyard. I mean, this is like horror 101. And I was like, okay, clues in the name. It's night and they're going to a graveyard. That must be where the dead are.
I mean, they're going to be living there, aren't they? Like, that's usually where they live. Now, graveyard for you, spooky, special, sacred. Talk to me about the graveyard experience. Because I know you've said you've hung around goths. So I'm not sure if they took you down to that graveyard. There's a couple of nice ones in Nottingham. Not a bad place to rest your bones.
So I didn't used to hang around in graveyards as a teen, but for a long time, my walk to work involved a stroll through a graveyard, and it was a very nice one.
Sorry, a stroll?
Yeah, a walk.
Oh, that's a little bit disrespectful. That's all right.
Sorry.
It's a bit jaunty is all. It's a bit jaunty.
Yeah. It wasn't a skip.
I know, but a stroll, you're a bit mirthful there. I would say if you're going through any place that houses the dead, a standard perambulation would be what you're aiming for.
Yeah.
I don't want no sassy gates, Sam.
And there were some real sassy gates that you had to open to get into the... But so, graveyards are honestly kind of a nice... They're just, for me, in my experience, and I've not really been to visit any graves in a graveyard. It's just been like a nice park, but it happens to have dead people in it.
Well, listen up now, because I've heard it before. But the big wigs down at Nottingham Town Council, such is the state of your diminishing green spaces, that a literal son of Nottingham's coming on here, extolling the virtues of where we shovel all our deads into the ground. Because... you know what I like, Sam? Victoria Park in Salford, the bustling green metropolis of Salford.
Well, my counterpoint is that the graveyard is pretty much opposite the Arboretum. Which is sort of a...
I don't know. I don't want roots tangling with the dead.
The dead have like seeped under and the trees have absorbed the dead. So that in a way, those trees are the spirit of the dead. And it's a graveyard that's like been full for like years. So like all of those dead people are like long dead.
Now, I was wondering your thought about like how you'd like to go. Would you like to be buried in a graveyard? I know I've talked extensively about the funeral. I've not talked about the disposal of my own body.
Sure.
There's this stuff out there where like, they can hook you up to a tree and then you're the tree. And I'm like, oh, great. And then you can go in me and get rid of all the spiders and learn how to use your slingshot. Because let's face it, with this facial hair, I'd be a Deku tree.
100%. Yeah.
There's ones where you can become like a string of fairy lights as well, I believe.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to be recalled,
Bit of cremation and then like press me into a record or... Ooh. Yeah. Or like compress me into some sort of jewellery, I think. Just have me about. Have me about as a thing.
A lot of compression going on there, though. I mean...
compress me.
May I recommend an anxiety blanket while you're still alive? Because you might get something out of it.
And can I recommend a lossy MP3 if you want some real compression? Thank you. Good night. In fact, by the time I die... we'll all be digitally disposed of, won't we?
That's true, yeah.
Because Charlie Brooker will have,
But when you have digitally disposed of me, you have to make sure you clear the cache as well. Otherwise, I'll just be back up. And this is what we have here, A Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah, they
clear the cache. Both browsers.
Now, both browsers clear the cache. Tick all time, not just like the last 6 months or whatever.
No.
So these, I thought it was a young couple, but they're brother and sister. They roll up to the graveyard, and they're just like,
he's an asshole, this Johnny, isn't he?
Oh, I've got to lay this fucking wreath on this fucking grave for this old dead man who I don't even fucking remember. Ugh. And I've had a 3-hour drive, and there's a 3-hour drive back, and I'm doing it for our mum, and it's shit. And he's just moaning.
You know what I love most about Johnny here, Sam, is that he complains about the scene, because it's the late 60s. He's like, I don't want to be around this scene, see? Well, guess what, Johnny? You asshole. There's no scene that should have you.
And you know what? It's it's very telling of where we are in time in terms of when this is released. Because, spoiler alert, Johnny gets killed. And... in horror films, I've noticed that when you want to set up that someone quite early on is getting killed, you kind of make them into a bit of a shit so that you don't feel bad when they die pretty soon after. And in like modern films, they'd like say something racist or like hit a woman or something. But this guy
say, you know what I mean.
This guy just has a bit of a moan, and you're like, I'm glad he's dead because he was having a pop.
Well, we won't be driving 3 hours to your grave, Johnny, because you're a prick. How about that? Were you expecting, because we were in the graveyard, and I feel this is interesting, there's a lot of big tropes regarding zombies, and people will casually say, like me in the priest role, this one kind of set the bar for a lot of the kind of the mainstream Western zombie or whatever it is. A lot of stuff you don't get. Like, for instance, no zombie says brains here. That's a Return of the Living Dead business. Were you expecting grave busting action, like hands going out of the grave?
No. And they don't have their arms in front of them.
Yeah.
None of that. Yeah, I was kind of surprised that we don't get the traditional tropes. Now, I want to bring something up. There was chat between these two about how light it is, even though it is definitely, they're like, it is nighttime, but it's bright because of summer and daylight savings.
Summer.
And I honestly think, that's an excuse that they can film this scene in the daytime, in broad daylight, to get good lighting and justify that it's still spooky in nighttime. It seems seems harsh because it's George A. Romero, and I know he's a big deal. There is a real student film vibe to this.
Oh, that is it, Sam. I mean, it is
massively.
like he had experience working in commercials and stuff like that. But in terms of a first project, most of the people, particularly the actors, this was like first thing that most of them had ever done, and they made it for the sum total of $100,000, which adjusted for inflation, I believe, is $100,000. But that. Bills are all kind of puffy.
They're swollen.
Like if you bought liquor off of Amazon and they sent it to you, and it'd be all kind of like with these cards that are like, and you go, great stuff.
Yes. So there's a slight. What am I trying to say? There's not a professional sheen to this all of the time. There's a few
scrappy.
Little,
I would argue.
Scrappy. It's scrappy. Yes.
Which is everyone's favourite member of the Mystery Machine gang, Scrappy Doo. Is there anything more passive-aggressive? And I think this is something that maybe has been lost in modern times, but a man putting on his driving gloves certainly gives you indication of him wanting to get a move on now. You can't just put on a coat, because that is straight up rude. But if you're putting on the driving gloves, that's more of a civil way of saying, let's in a 3-hour drive. Come on.
And so what happens here is they got to lay this wreath, and Johnny is talking to Barbara and being like, oh, I used to scare you in this graveyard when we came here when we were kids. And I'd go, they're coming to get you, Barbara. And he's doing it again. And he's like, oh, there's one of the baddies now. There's one of the ghouls now.
I'm just like, shut up, I hate baddies.
Pointing at this, what looks like a bloke. And I thought, oh, well, when we zoom in, we're going to realise that it's a zombie. But when we do get a clear shot of this zombie, he does just sort of look like a pale, tall bloke who's got quite a nice face. He's got quite kind eyes, this zombie.
He does.
He looks quite, just like, and he's got, his walk is quite jaunty.
He does have a jaunty walk. He reminds me of the nice farmer who filled up several gallon jugs of hard cider when I took a very fun side adventure detour when I was in Bristol. Always followed the road signs in Bristol, particularly the ones that lead you to cider. But he had kind of a warm, worldly vibe to him, which is why it's even more terrifying that he's straight in on Johnny. Be like, I'll show you a commute. I'll kill you right here in the graveyard. Commute time 0 minutes.
Yes. He grabs Barbara and then Johnny tries to save the day and Johnny goes down. It's quite a soft death for Johnny. It's just, boop, oh, he's hit his head on a grave. He's gone. Zombie Man also has this permanent look on his face, like he's done something wrong and he's kind of going, oh, yikes. He's kind of like, oh.
You know I realised he looks like, you saying that, he looks like the CEO of Ryanair, Michael O'Leary. Who's always pulling that cheeky, I've done something wrong, so I have.
Easy.
Oh, sure, I haven't paid any of me taxes, so I haven't. You fucking crook.
I mean, this scene at the start is where most of the student film vibe comes in, because Barbara manages to get away, get into the car, and Zombie Man is very gently banging on the glass until he has to do the actual smash. Like he's pounding on the glass, but he knows that glass is gonna go.
Yeah,
so he has to do the gentlest hits against it. There's some of that in wrestling some of the time, but even then they sell it a bit. But yeah, one take, but she's managed to get away.
I don't know why, but the zombie picking up a stone always makes me laugh.
Yeah.
Where it's like, shit, he's got a tool now. There's a very much like a Safari Park gone wrong vibe when someone picks, like, when the giraffe picks up a stone, you're fucking done. He's dropping that from a height. Goodbye, sun view.
Also, these zombies, not quite as slow as I thought they would be. They've got a bit of pace to it. Or this one has. Maybe not the ones later on.
The speed of a man, I would say.
A lot of things of just a man is what they've got.
That is true, yeah.
So Barbara getting away, she crashes into a tree, she makes her way to a creepy farmhouse, and I'm like, okay, this reminds me of Resident Evil Village or the one before that, creeping around the dark abandoned house. And I'm like, okay, here's where the established tropes that this set up have been regurgitated forever, because I really got that sense of like eerie exploration of abandoned place as a setup.
But the opening salvo didn't do it for you, is what you're saying?
No. But then this is where I start to kind of get in. We're all right.
Taxidermy.
Yeah, That felt a bit Citizen Kane. That just felt like, you're faking me out with a jump scare here just to make sure hey, wake up, come on. We've got a zombie movie here. Look, we're still going.
But this guy is a persistent fellow, this Michael O'Leary son of a bitch. And all I could say, Sam, if a zombie came shambling into my garden took down my washing line, well, there'd be World War Z3 coming at you, is what I'm saying.
100%. That's just rude. That's rudeness, is what that is. That's
the zombies are going to smoke him out. They're going to make him like their clothes are going to be all damp and musky, and they're like, we have to just die.
We can't leave that out there. It's fallen on the floor. The phone's not working. Another classic like horror thing. There's no contact with the outside world. Okay, we're establishing that.
And I do appreciate, we'll take a chance to smell the roses when we go back in time, and we don't have to have the Verizon wireless isn't working for some reason,
My cell reception is down.
What?
Oh no. Or like you drop your phone in the fucking sink, and I'm like, come on, plug it into right.
Are updating despite my preferences. It was very clear. Very clear.
Has there been a horror set on one of those like non-tech silent retreat things? Because I feel like that's the perfect place for it.
Yeah, and the horror starts on the second day when you wake up and you're like, well, it's going to be a long weekend.
There's a scary decomposing body on the stairs, so we know that, this is a house of death. There's been
Did that shot of the corpse make you think, okay, more gore's coming? Because I kind of feel like, in terms of a violence, I still submit it is a creepy movie, but I will view something in terms of violence and horror kind of from would you get away showing this to kids the last day of term in school? And I kind of feel like no one's the kids would be bored shitless probably.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't think anyone's going to be traumatized watching this in 2023 if they're a youngster. I think they might find it quite quaint compared to what they say.
I agree, yeah. But I mean, I guess for the time, that shot of the decomposing head was quite gross. And there's a few little bits later on, but it never fully grossed me out. And Barbara, I think she goes outside to try and deal with shambly zombie man outside. But
he's brought some of his rowdy friends with him.
Yes.
Stomping about.
But a lad pulls up at the same time and gets her back in the house, closes the door. A fellow survivor trying to figure out what's going on, but he's a bit more action oriented. He's got what are we going to do here? And this guy's called Ben.
He's 10 out of 10 Ben is what they call him because he's a top bloke. Yeah. I love Ben.
Yes. And he's a black leading man in a film in the late 60s, which from what I was reading on Wikipedia and also what I know from history, it's a big deal. And it wasn't played up as a big deal and nothing was changed in the script to accommodate that, which it's kind of that's good. Yeah, it's a good thing. It feels like yes.
It feel like I think it's the one thing that makes it not feel like dusty old shit though in some respects because I mean not to be too melodramatic, but if it's a black and white movie from back in the day and there's a black character, I am at least 50% expected to be a famous white actor blacked up for the occasion.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. And there's none of that. It's just the leading character, it's a black man, and he means business. He's coming in trying to sort out these zombies,
bopping ghouls with a tire iron.
Yeah.
10 out of 10, Ben.
And he's. There are zombies outside smashing up the car, and so he's going out clubbing them. And as a zombie makes his way in, and then Ben bashes him right through the head. And there's one shot, so he's just dealing with all these zombies. One shot of him bashing a zombie, which made me laugh so much because it's so obviously a dummy that he's hitting. You get the shot of the zombie from the front and then the shot from the back, and it literally looks like a t-shirt tied up full of newspaper that he's smashing up.
I'm sure I've mentioned before, but my brother and his friend who was into zombie movies big time wanted to make their own zombie movie, and we had far less than $100,000. We just had a nightstick, VHS camcorder, and a younger brother whose Saturday was going to take a turn he would never forget. And their great idea was that we would fashion a head out of a mask that is stuffed with a pillow. And then we would tuck it in and then pull up my shirt and we'd swing at it so we wouldn't have the hokey, body double effect that you did. but we did miscalculate, and I did get hit with a nightstick full force in the side of the head. And that's when I found out that nightsticks are made of a special polymer so that they can't crack skulls. So, so you swing them if you got them, folks. That didn't make the final cut either. I'm still arguing for the director's cut. I'm like, now show the boy getting whacked with a nightstick.
Now, in contrast to the sound I imagine you made when you got whacked full force with a nightstick, these zombies, the sounds they make are quite gentle. They are a bit
I wasn't gentle.
they're like me at the start of a Patreon promo. There's a bit of it's like they're not like they're just like
get that ghoul. Boo.
It's real they're quite soft and nice, these zombies. They're good guys, you know? They're just trying
You
their
say
best.
they're good guys. Yeah, when these zombies come into the house, they don't even wipe their feet.
No.
I think that is quite rude. They've been walking across a country field. But Ben's played this game before. And by this game, I mean Resident Evil 1. Ain't no fucking surprises coming around in the second act. He's burning the body straight away.
Yes.
No one's getting up. There's no unfortunate surprises later.
Yeah, burn the bodies. The zombies are also scared of fire. So
That's not a spoiler for Resident Evil 1. That's literally life-saving advice.
Yes, that will help you out. But the character of Barbara, for the whole of this film,
She's in a trance.
yeah, she's like, I thought she'd been zombied because she is just. I thought that was going to be the twist, that like early doors she'd been got, because
All
she does
along.
sort of just wander around, not really saying much, looking spooked, helping a bit, but not really. And it's a real strange vibe from her. But you're right, it's trance-like. I guess it's like she's traumatized and freaked out.
Yeah,
and you
I
would
think it's meant to be like folks, you know, you go into shock or whatever, but I think it's meant to show how like some folks, when horrible things happen, literally kind of glide through them in a almost comatose state. Now, I think that's something that's directly addressed in the remake of this, which is one of my fave movies, but I am kind of it felt wrong doing the remake before you'd seen the original.
Sure.
And I don't know, it's kind of schlocky, but it's great. It's another one of those ones that falls between the
Doesn't
cracks,
quite
I
fit
think, of
in.
not being one or the other.
Sure. And our two characters here, they're sharing their stories of how they first encountered these zombies. Ben's got quite a cool story about, like, you know.
Has he ever? I want to see this movie. 18-wheelers, explosions, 60 zombies all climbing all over. Holy shit, man.
Now,
Hope you
that's
brought some of that budget with you.
I was going to say, that's how you solve a budget problem. Just have someone tell the story in an engaging way, out loud, with words. You don't need to do all of that stuff that sounds really expensive to shoot.
I was going to pick your brain as well, because I feel this contains one or two of the zombie things that are less obvious and not referenced elsewhere. Zombies being afraid of fire. Is that something that, like, in the zombie media that you've seen, has that been permeated through? Oh yeah, they don't like, they'll go and go walk away from it.
The idea of zombies being scared, I don't think, has existed much. That there would be anything that they'd be like, oh no, you know. I think they're cool with whatever.
Yeah, I figured they'd be like walking through fire, like so what, mate? Like, you know?
Yeah, don't give a shit. But they're like, oh god, no, that would actually really hurt. Like, they've got a little bit of human, you know, smarts, sense. They're not gonna just walk into a fire. They're not completely daft.
So Barbara comes out of her days long enough to tell her story, and this is, you know, in the spirit of Saw, recapping something that happened literally 10 minutes ago.
Yes.
But she just kind of tells us the first scene, more or less. But does it in that kind of slightly mad way, where she becomes upset because she's talking about her brother dying in front of her, and you know, her being attacked, not processing it. And we get a good old-fashioned 1960s, I told you to calm down. She hits him and he fucking wallops her.
Yeah.
So Ben is our leading man, warts and all, in the late 60s.
Yeah. You know, there's good things of what's happened here, and but then it giveth with one hand and taketh away with the other. And she, like, in response to being hit, faints, And there was a moment where he like unbuttons her jacket, and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. But then it's just to keep her cool.
Because it's a
and not-
hot summer's night.
And I was like, oh, okay. I just was like, oh, God, where is this film going?
It was taking a
Fucking
very
hell.
dark turn.
Yeah.
Like, it turns out the monsters were humans all along, like, immediately.
And again, like, very video gamey. We get some radio exposition. We get, a little bit of audio
Oh,
exposition.
I love this. I love the weird terminology because it's like, this is talking about media who wouldn't have the words to describe what it was in a movie
Yes.
where we don't yet have the words to describe what it is. We don't say like zombies or whatever
No.
it is. So instead we have an epidemic of mass murder by an army of unknown assassins.
Yeah, I like
I
that a
hate the
lot.
unknown assassins so much. Like, in wrestling, they'll have like the assassin 1 and 2, like with guys with masks. I hate them. They're unknown.
Unknown assassins.
Bastards.
A term that comes up later on from the radio is misshapen monsters. And I love that they don't have the words and they're just like workshopping ideas. All of the like stay at home, stay inside, stay indoors at all costs, quite reminiscent of something we've been through in the last few years. It was like bringing that back.
Brexit.
Yes, Brexit.
Brexit.
And then they changed the messaging and they're like, actually, guys, eat out to help out. In this case, you got to go out and eat those zombies.
Prime Minister,
to boost
Chancellor,
the economy.
the zombies are taking advantage of the eat out to help out rule and they're eating out all of the diners. What are we gonna? No, not in a sexy way either. It's really bad.
No. And we really hang out with the like radio or I think it's still on the radio because they've not got a telly up yet. Just the radio commentary on what's happening. We just kind of hear what's going on. Oh, wait, update. The killers are eating flesh.
I see.
And we're just kind of getting some stuff.
There's a point where they're like, we have received reports that have been designated as beyond belief, so we won't be troubling you with those. It did make me think and reflect a lot about the nature of, news sources and know how, like when he's furiously building a fire and he makes a fire in that fireplace in like 5 fucking seconds.
Sure.
And like, we'd all be sat there with our firelighters on YouTube, how to, on Fireplace Guy, how to light an old fireplace in an old house or whatever it is. I'd probably be much more like Barbara. I'd be asleep and hopefully all the work is done when I wake up, And I feel like you would have people be like, no, there's not zombies. That's just the mainstream media lying to you. They're our mates, they are. We should go out and have a sing-song with them,
They look kind. I can't stress that enough. They do look nice. Now, spoiler alert, there's a Parasite-esque twist here. There's folks down in the basement. They've been there the whole time. Oh no. A couple of lads come up and they're like, oh, here we are. We're the basement boys. We've been hanging out in the basement. We didn't hear all the screaming, didn't know what was going on.
Or maybe we did hear the screaming and we don't care because we didn't want to get involved. See, let me tell you about my man Cooper, who transcends both the 60s and the 90s version of this movie to be one of my all-time favorite ornery creeps. Take a shot every time this man is adamant that the cellar is the safest place, goddammit. He fucking loves the cellar. I swore this man does a cellar conversion business out of Eccles or something like that. And he wants everyone to convert their cellars. He's mad for it.
And he's got his little younger mate who's like, well, I don't know, Mr. Cooper, there's windows up here. We got windows. We could use the windows to get out if we need to. There's no windows in the cellar. It's like, no, the cellar is safe. Which is one exit. If we board that up, we're safe.
Now, are you team upstairs or are you team cellar? Where's your head at with regards to your survival?
I've always wanted a basement. I don't know about you, but it's not really much of a thing in UK homes.
No, and I remember looking around houses around the area, and there was one that had a basement, and it was an awful house. It was awful, but I was mesmerized because it had the basement. And Joe was like, Kevin, the basement is you don't even fit in there. You're literally a foot too tall. My head had to crank, but I'm like, yeah, but if I was down here playing vintage video games, I wouldn't need to stand up, would I? I could be in my special ghoul zone in the basement. I'm telling you, Joe, the cellar's the safest place for the sake of Mega Drive.
So I was going to say, if Mr. Cooper had one of those SNES minis that And if he'd hooked it up to a CRT, I'm like, I'm staying in the cellar. Like,
The cellar's the safest place.
I'm going down there. So I think I'd be suckered in by the coziness and the comfort and not really think about the practicality of you need a fucking escape route if shit goes down.
Look, I'll tell you again, Ben, 10 on 10 as far as I'm concerned. But with regards to the job he's done, patched up the windows, I mean, he was proud of his work, and I've no doubt that he had reason to be. But there is a zombie ingress already.
Yes. Can I just say, every time we cut to the zombies outside, they do just look like they're milling about.
Yeah, kind of going...
Yeah.
Little wiggle about, like, you know.
Honestly, they're like awkward men at a disco, and I can relate. Like, I
what they
feel
don't
it.
see is on the other side of the barn and the farmhouse, there's a big line of zombie girls all kind of also feeling, and they've all got their cider and blackcurrant, and they're like, I don't really know what's going to happen. And when a zombie comes over, goes, will any of ye shift him?
But there are now grabby hands coming in through the windows, through the boarded up windows.
The Foley when they're swatting away the hands, where it's like,
Stop. It's like really, it's so like...
so nice.
It's so gentle, this film. It's quite cute sometimes. And the gunshots don't take down this guy straight away, which is an interesting thing. That's a zombie thing that I'm familiar with. Like, you got to get the head. You can't just shoot him in the body.
That information's not been... They're still at the wash your hands stage of this outbreak.
Yes.
They think that's all they have to do, okay? They're not yet at the point where you have to go out and get infected and eat in a modestly priced restaurant that you will immediately regret. They're not at that stage yet. They don't know.
No.
They don't have the knowledge.
No. Kevin, I've got a question for you, and I don't know if it makes me a pervert or not, but did George A. Romero put a naked woman zombie in for the dads? Because that was the feeling I got.
Well,
Is that all right?
I found it not titillating but shocking. Because I thought, well, look at them there now. Satan's children, as naked as the day they were born.
Yeah.
And I took that as not a sexy thing.
Whereas
I took that as
like,
a grotesque thing. Because I was raised Catholic, and I know deep down that nudity is something that should be deeply ashamed and terrified of.
It was the scariest part of the movie for you, the idea that someone would be openly nude.
Simultaneously stark and bollock naked. I know it's a hot summer, but come on.
Jeez. How... Right, so they're still fucking arguing about which is the safest floor to be on at this point. And I was like, is this the extent of maybe the humans are the real zombies? Like that they can't agree on where to go.
Upstairs, downstairs, upstairs, downstairs. Let's call the whole thing off.
And there's a bit of swapping around because there's a child down in the cellar.
And a wife.
And a wife. And so a young lady, I think the girlfriend of the young man, she comes up and they swap round and Mr. Cooper goes down and Judy is the young lady and she looks a little bit like Lana Del Rey is what I thought. But she comes out and we've got another new character. And then we cut downstairs to the little fucking kitchen sink drama / sitcom of Mr. Cooper and his wife. Being like, oh God, these guys upstairs, they got a radio on the go. It's like, a radio? Why did you say? Oh, come on!
I called this section Cooped Up with the Coopers.
See, right, that needs the font from the start of the film. Yeah. That's perfect for this bit. Not for the rest of it, but for this bit. Oh, amazing. Yeah, the whole, like, there's a radio upstairs and you boarded us in down here. What are you thinking? And he's just this put upon husband, just like, I'm trying to do my best here.
And then he's like, God damn it, Helen, I'm telling you. And then the audience go, the cellar is the safest place.
Oh, beautiful stuff.
And the stand-up who they get to warm up the audience, he comes out and he's like, sorry everyone, I was just thinking about heading upstairs. Boo! I'm only kidding. You're in the right room. You're in the right room. Don't move. Don't
You're gonna have a great night. You're gonna have a great night.
Great night, lads. Great night.
Yeah. So Judy, who's just come upstairs, now has to go back downstairs to look after the kid while Mr. Cooper and Mrs. Cooper come upstairs. And I do like the character of Helen Cooper saying, don't be afraid of me. I'm Helen Cooper, Harry's wife. So we now know we've got a two Coopers and we know who they are, and they're doing the most important thing that you can do in a lockdown situation: get the telly hooked up and sorted out. You know, make sure that is working. And we've got more exposition, but this time visual. There's, guys, breaking news.
The dead live!
It's a night of the living dead, everyone. I know this beggars belief. The following report beggars belief, but the dead are coming to life.
But we are due for a long, dark night of the living dead of the soul, and you need to prepare accordingly. Now, I know lots of people like to go on about kind of, one of those amazing, shocking things about Romero and about The Walking Dead and about all the other great zombie media that we all love is that they never explain where it came from. Now, there is a spin-off in The Walking Dead where they're like, it was made in this lab in France, but none of you watched that, did you?
Yeah.
But in this one, no one really wants to remember about the Venus probe shot down by NASA, which is introduced as a possibility, which is then expanded upon as being like, no, that is the radiation from the probe from Venus causing the ghoulification of the recently deceased.
Space zombies. These are space zombies. Well, they're not. They're not
fucking outer space, man.
Out of space. What is this film? But yeah, we get a bit of, a possibility of what happened. I like that. I appreciate it.
Don't worry, Sam. We'll be safe with our electro guns and solar bonite. Now, the thing here is that the one thing I'll give it that I love, and this is if I'm being pedantic about zombies, which is the best way to be part of the zombie discourse, I do prefer it when it's not like, a virus or whatever that's spread around. I like it when it's just, you die, you come up. That's it. It's like how you die, you come up. And I much rather that to like, if you've died but you've been bitten, or it doesn't matter if you died but you've not been bitten. Like, no. Bites will kill you, but you're dead, you're up.
If you go down, you're coming up.
Easy.
Them's the rules. And Kevin, the fucking advice has changed. It's flipped on a dime. It used to be stay indoors. Now it's the pubs are open, go in them if you want. It's just, I don't understand.
Ridiculous.
What am I supposed to do?
Apparently, Sam, according to Sir Beer Korma, the dead live, allegedly.
There's local centres where there's food and shelter and armed guards. You got to go to those. So now we've got some impetus for our characters to not just hang around in a basement and watch telly, which is probably for the best. And there's also a bit of like, by the way, burn the fucking bodies because otherwise they're coming back.
From the dead.
From the dead. If you don't burn them, they will come back. And I can't remember why they're trying to find jars to store stuff. Oh, they're making Molotov cocktails, aren't they? Molotov cocktails.
And again, much like lockdown, we all got into cocktail making, didn't we?
Yeah. Again, it feels a little bit video gamey, which is not its fault. I think video games are taking it from this. But there's a bit where, we need to set fire to these zombies.
We need to hold X in our inventory.
We need a glass container and petrol. And the lad goes downstairs like, I found some jars in the cellar and there is a key on here that is labelled for the gas pump out back. And it's like the tutorial of how to walk in the game is you go into the gas pump out the back. Like you got to like move and carry a thing.
You can't see the lock until you turn the OR stick, and they're like, "Well, guess how you're controlling your camera this way."
And fucking another shot of just zombies hanging out outside. I think they all filmed these shots in one go because they're all very, very similar of them. Just,
do you not like the shots that you don't think it's creepy or like, there's more of them or they're getting closer? There was no sense of any sort of impending. There was no escalation of your feelings, it feels.
Kevin, it felt like a crowd building as the support band was playing. You know what I mean?
Like it was dead, is what you're saying.
It started out completely dead, and then a few people start shuffling in and kind of swaying about a bit, but they're waiting for Coldplay to come on. You know what I'm saying? They're waiting for the main act to get on that stage.
Not these also-rans.
No, like the light up wristband thing is not even doing anything yet because James are on. Someone was telling me about their experience of going to see Coldplay, like. I'm trying to James. Yes. Sit down. You know, James.
Sit down next to me. Donkey Kong Country 2. Hey. That's how I know it.
So They're holding off these zombies with Molotov cocktails, and to be fair, their noises have gone from to whoa, dude. The zombies like, wee. There's a little bit more passion from these fucking zombies.
At this point as well, Barbara has kind of been treated like a lamp that doesn't really have a home in a badly lit house. She's been moved around, kind of hoping that there'll be some purpose given to her in her new home. The cellar is the safest place, I would say.
Cellar is the safest place. What have I always said, audience? The cellar is the safest place to be. Hey. So the young lad, he's trying to go out to get in the van, to get petrol, and it's, there's zombies everywhere and everyone's making funny faces because they're trying to get in the van. And then the petrol spills everywhere.
Oh.
And then the car's on fire.
Oh.
And then kaboom, those characters are gone. And again, it's like, I love that the explosion is literally just a flash of white on the screen. We're not bothering. That's great.
I like the minimalism of it.
Fantastic. You don't need all of those whizzes and bangs.
If you told me George A. Romero made this on his Game Boy camera, I'd be very impressed as well, like. And that was the problem, was that when they printed it on the Game Boy printer, they forgot they put it to public domain, so anyone could print it. Like.
Yeah. So can't believe the full film is on the Wikipedia. You could just click on the Wikipedia page and watch it.
It truly is the doom of movies.
You can get Night of the Living Dead running on a fridge. Yeah. Oh, amazing. So after all of this exploding car nonsense, Ben, our main man, is trying to get back into the house, and old Cooper, the cellar's the safest place to be. He's not letting him in. But Ben does get in, and then once he is in, they have a
fisticuff.
Fist fight.
I think Ben should have adhered to the rules. He was voted off the zombie safe haven, and that was the rule, wasn't it? He wasn't meant to be allowed back into the house, and now the contestants have voted, and now they went back on that. And I feel like he's not respected the process.
No. Well, I will be contacting
Ofcom
about this.
Way ahead of you.
Yeah. Yes.
So there's been a big explosion now, of course.
Yeah.
With people involved. And we get a scene which is best described as zombies having a cookout. And let me tell you, as a man who made buffalo wings for the first time the other night.
I made buffalo wings for the first time the other night, Kevin.
Really?
Yeah.
Whoa! Did you use Frank's as well?
No, but I probably should have done. But they were still very nice.
Did you do yours in the oven?
No, I did air fryer. I did some air fryer, and you get an even crispy.
Yeah. Do you want to know a little bit of a hack there?
Please.
A tip of the cap to Kenji Lopez, as always, for a lot of my cooking tips. Baking powder on your when you're preparing your chicken wing, because it'll interact with the oils in the chicken skin and it'll expand with gas, so you'll get bubbly, crispy skin.
Oh, lovely stuff. Okay, I'll be trying that next time. Yes, please. But these
unfortunately, Sam and I won't be having buffalo wings relatively soon because we've just had them, haven't we?
We've just had them, but when we do, we will report back. These guys, a bit of human flesh.
Tender.
And you can tell they put a bit of baking powder on those humans before they exploded.
That's true.
There's bubbles on the skin.
When you dry brine your kill, it's always going to be there. And this reminded me as well of that part in the pandemic where, like, I'm sorry to say this, but now at Christmas, we must ask you to eat your family alive.
Yes.
And we're like, oh, sure, Boris will get away with all sorts, won't he?
But again, the zombies do just look like they're having a nice time having a picnic outside, even though it is like human bits that they're eating.
I know, those are definitely rotisserie chickens, Sam. I can spot them a mile away. Generous rotisserie chickens.
Yeah. So that's, weirdly quite a cute scene. Now, the child downstairs, we get some exposition here.
Uh-oh, she's got Jupiter virus.
She been bit by one of these zombies, and we, having seen zombie media in the future, know what that means.
There was also a bit here that was very analogous again to the pandemic, which was people sitting around waiting for the next broadcast to come out.
Yeah.
You were like, well, it's something important. Oh, it's fucking Oliver Dowden. What the fuck? I guess the virus isn't very serious after all, is it? Tell me how it affects the culture secretary.
What were those things called? I can't remember what they were called.
Daily coronavirus briefing.
The Daily Briefing. Yeah, just waiting
where
for that.
you could watch as the lecterns moved closer together, further apart.
Yeah.
The phrasing changed.
Dependent on the guidance.
It was extremely in flux, the whole thing.
So, the news reporters are calling these things ghouls. They're now officially ghouls. We've settled on it. They're ghouls. And that
Kill
name is
the
going to
brain.
stick throughout time.
Kill
These
the
are
brain,
ghouls.
kill the ghoul. Of
Yeah.
course, everyone loves, all their favorite ghoul movies. I am a fan of the series I, Ghoul.
Yeah.
So, of course, Ghoul Land, which was a real fun one that came out in the cinema a few years back.
Underrated gaming classic Ghoul U on the Wii U. That was surprisingly good and made great use of the Wii U gamepad. The guidance coming through, get him in the head. Fucking get the head.
And expert guidance, they're dead. They're all messed up. There's something really freaky about, and this happens in a few, and not to spoil it, but like it's kind of a somewhat of a recurring theme in Romero's work, where you're kind of your savior in these situations. It's kind of like the good old boys, the posse or whatever.
Yeah.
Relishing an opportunity to go out and killing people, and like, don't worry, the men in hats will come with their hunting rifles and sort this all out. So don't worry, folks. Stay calm. Stay calm, protect the posse, save lives.
And we're doing the pointing with the thumb withheld.
Yes.
The music's pretty interesting in this sometimes.
Yeah, what do you think of it? Because it's more like kind of a incidental, I guess, used for jolts and japes, I assume. But,
Yeah.
I mean, did it have an effect for you?
It did, but to be honest, I wrote down the music as interesting because I remember hearing a musical cue that I thought was like, oh, okay, I want to talk about that later. Completely forgotten what it was by now. So there were no like hooks, but there was interesting use of music I seem to remember.
Yeah, I would have, suggest Sam, seeing as it is completely in the public domain, that you and I simply recut this and every scene begins with boo-doo, boo-doo, doo.
Kevin, I've just thought this is the first film that if we wanted to, we could do the pre-swirl and then the post-swirl just play the entire audio of the film and it would be fine. Like there would be no legal issue.
No issues whatsoever. Tack it on in the end, sure, It's a bit of crack,
After the credits music, put the entirety of Night of the Living Dead audio only.
The entirety of the Night of the Living Dead, Thanks for checking out the entirety of the Night of the Living Dead. I think people will enjoy that. I think that, look, if it's going to be on Wikipedia, I've been saying this for ages, time people spend on Wikipedia is time they're not spending listening to Cinema Swirl.
Yes.
We need to fucking cannibalize Wikipedia's audience ASAP.
Okay, don't look at the runtime if you're listening to this because it will spoil the joke at the end of this episode. So at this point, the zombies are coming in, and Mr. Cooper, the cellar's the safest place to be.
Is it?
It's grabbed Ben's gun. Ben grabs it back, and he just shoots the fucking shit out of Cooper. Sort of unnecessarily, from what I could tell, but he's like, this guy's a fucking
He's
knob.
annoying.
He's
Come
annoying.
on.
Get him killed. So he's gone. His wife gets grabbed by the ghoulies, so to speak. And Mr. Cooper, he's been shot. He's fallen down into the cellar where his daughter is. He goes to see it, and then he dies. And the little girl, Karen, has become a zombie. And for my money, is the scariest one of this whole film.
This sound here, move over coarse brush on a wet concrete pavement.
Yeah. Horrible stuff.
No.
And this kid gets a garden trowel and trowels her own mum to death. And George A. Romero, or whoever was in charge of sound and music on this, puts a basically guitar delay pedal on the screams of the mum dying. And I respect it, because that's the sort of thing I would have done, messing around with effects back in the day.
I confided in my wife about how scary I found this sound, and I think from a place of trying to help me through it, she was like, all you need to do is, like, it's only one step away from being an EDM track, Kevin. Slow it down, add a beat. You'd put this on, while you're playing Minecraft. You'd be fine.
And I can't stress this enough. You could, because it's all in the public domain, and you wouldn't have to pay any rights on that.
Plus, old man Romero's dead himself. himself. So what's he going to do about it? Nothing.
So Johnny's back. Remember Johnny from the start who was moaning about having to put that wreath down? He's back. Hooray.
Johnny in the house.
He's a zombie, and he's a zombie who looks like he could be in a cool new rave band in the mid-2000s. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
He looks like he could have been in Klaxons, is what I'm saying.
I understand.
Is how he looks. Yeah.
However, I feel like the black and white nature of this made me feel he looked like John Major with his glasses off in this scene. And I feel like we've grabbed very different ends of the stick there. Very different ends of the stick indeed.
Yeah.
That being said, John Major could have been in the Klaxons. He auditioned and they said, no, we don't like the continuation of the hardline policies of Margaret Thatcher. And yours was, forgive me for invoking this movie, a zombie government, Mr. Major.
Yes.
That's not zombie noises. That's
No, that's...
the MPs are on my side here. Yeah, me and the Klaxons.
Order. I honestly, I don't want to speculate. I think if John Major had been in the band, they wouldn't have won the Mercury Prize. I'm putting it out there. I don't think it would have happened.
Mate, the only thing more political than John Major is the Mercury Prize. There, I said it.
So he's here. He drags Barbara away.
I'm coming to get you, Barbara. Now.
Hey.
Yeah. And there's no grandfather to tell me off now.
No. So that's her story full circle. The OG zombie with the kind eyes is back, and the little girl. I mean, at this point, it seems like Ben is pretty fucked because all the zombies are coming in and they're all overwhelming him.
Where are you going to go, Ben? Where are you going to go?
Where could he possibly go, which is the safest place to be?
Safest place?
There's got to be a safe option here. Where's he going to go?
Safe? Almost
Safe place to go.
Oh, the cellar.
So interesting.
You've come down to our level, Ben, have you? Here in the cellar.
Come down to our level, having shot the man who repeatedly recommended that to you.
Cooper
Very interesting,
invented
Ben.
cellars.
Yeah. Oh, shocking stuff. They're all crowding around trying to get in, but there's one entrance and he's barricaded it and he's safe.
Safe in the safest place.
Apart from the fact that Cooper and his wife, in the oft-forgotten zombie episode of Cooped Up with the Coopers, they've become ghouls. But they're quite quickly dispatched with.
Yeah, people didn't like that episode. It was like in Doctors when they had the Joe Pasquale episode. They just thought tonally it didn't work with the rest of the series.
Yeah, whereas I think it was a standout. But, you know, there's mixed reviews of what happened there. Mixed reviews. This ending, I mean...
Tell me about the ending, Sam.
Okay, so we've had the Night of the Living Dead. We've got the morning of the...
morning after, yeah.
The morning after of the Living Dead. We got the sort of like posse of like, yeehaw. Well, howdy boys, we're going to shoot some ghouls today.
I hate ghouls.
A bunch of lads coming to shoot the ghouls. And we're like, okay. I mean, Ben has survived in the cellar. And there's armed men coming to get rid of the ghouls in broad daylight. We're going to be okay. And, I mean, they shoot some of the ghouls, and then they just straight up, without much fanfare, shoot Ben. Ben's dead. All of our characters are dead. Another one on the fire.
Yep. Hooks and all.
The real zombies are the humans. Thank you. Night of the Living Dead.
Now, there's obviously lots of ways to... You know, the obvious way to interpret it is like, you know, it was a racist act or whatever it is, right? But like a lot of people go watch this and just be like, oh, they were just being careful, weren't they? Which is, again, how a lot of those acts often are perhaps framed, let's just say. But I do think in terms of a twist ending, without it being a kind of a big, the fact that it's delivered with such plainness, matter-of-factness.
Yeah.
Like, you don't walk away from Night of the Living Dead going, Jesus, you walk away with this feeling of ennui and dread, I feel. And I think that's the movie's, like, lasting kind of, its lasting impression is that killer final blow, I think, of showing you the fruitlessness of surviving or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
because he didn't have a good go of it in the end. You know, that was a bad end for Ben, our friend.
You're right. It's a brutal but very matter of fact end, and it's not what I expected from a film like this at this time.
And I mean, there's a way you could have done it where it's like, hey, look, it's a black guy, let's kill him, and then you could have really like egged it on and hammed it up or whatever. I'm making myself very hungry with this chat at the moment, but like the fact that it's delivered with just not a second thought or whatever it is, it's both. Some could argue a more careful way to show that, but also a more devastating way because it's so just boom out of the blue. There you fucking go. No. That's what happens.
Yeah, just a sad end.
So you were made sad by the movie, but I don't know if it's made you scared.
I wasn't scared. I occasionally had a bit of a laugh. Probably the main thing I'm taking away from this is that it is the genesis of a bunch of other shit. Like you can see the seeds being sown for so much other zombie media, and also
for stream reaping. Is what you're saying.
You can see the bits that didn't get picked up, which is quite nice as well. Like you can see all the ingredients laid out, and then future films have gone, well, we're not going to fucking put that. We don't need the Jupiter probe. That's not going to go well with this. But like a lot of the stuff is still like in place today for classic zombie stuff. And there were like a few things that I didn't expect. That the zombies would be so nice and so gentle and have such lovely, kind faces and be a bit quicker than I thought, but also shambling and just milling about.
I don't regret not kind of hyping it up for you in the pre-swirl because I was, I think, at the back of my mind aware that there was a lot of things maybe working against it. But even with me tapering expectations, I do get the sense that you're somewhat disappointed.
It's a real difficult one because it's like, it's a bit crap, but it's good. Like, it's... Do you know what I mean, though? I mean, it's a bit crap.
It obviously is, and I think that's its charm, though. You know, it is scrappy, as we said earlier.
Yeah, sorry, I meant it's a bit scrap, but it's good.
Mike,
it's got scrappiness.
It's all right. It's fine.
No, I guess it's hard to get a read on how I even feel about it. There's probably a bit of dusty old shit prejudice coming through, where I'm like, well, it's in black and white, it's old. Fuck it.
I remember when we did like Wizard of Oz and when we did Citizen Kane, it felt like that kind of the confines of being dusty old shit. Then it felt like the stuff rose above that, and it was like, oh wow, that's dusty old shit, but X, Y, and Z. Like I still think of the imagery of Citizen Kane, like it stands out because of how old it is in my very uneducated mind.
Yes,
but are there moments like that in this movie? Do you feel it kind of rises above that, or has it got to have the "it's old but" caveat at the start?
It's old, but it sometimes feels still quite contemporary, which is interesting, but in a schlocky way. I mean, so the performances in this are, I don't think any of them are great.
Yeah, it's all kind of, rookie stuff for a lot of them,
Yeah, it just feels very early, for better or for worse. This is like first go at this sort of thing.
Yeah.
And it shows, but I'm also conscious of like the influence that it's had. I'd be very curious to see later period George A. Romero.
That's why I'm really thinking you'll love Dawn of the Dead, because I think the bits that you liked here, slim as it may be, this offering of bits, but I do think, I don't know if I want to wait a whole year. I think we might have to go into Dawn of the Dead sooner rather than later, because I kind of want to, I don't want you to forget about this movie. I kind of want to chase this feeling with you and see if, because I mean, I'm not going to lie, I watched this movie having seen already Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, Shaun of the Dead, the Dawn of the Dead remake, Return of the Living Dead, and We Are the Raiders of the Living Dead. We are hunting them instead, cause the dead are after me. Check out the Raiders of the Living Dead theme song. It's great.
Raiders of the Living Dead.
It's not a good movie. It's not a good movie.
Wow. Okay.
But I watched this having a fucking big backpack of zombie lore and love.
Yeah.
So I got a different experience. This, I feel like, is your first zombie movie outside of Shaun of the Dead.
No, I saw some Resident Evils. I've seen some zombie media. I saw 28 Days Later.
Yeah, but you've not seen Land of the Dead, Sam.
No, I haven't. But I've now seen Night of the Living Dead. OG Night of the Living Dead. And I get what it started, you know? And I'm now aware that, like, this is not the origin of zombie as a concept, but this kind of Western version of zombie kind of sprung up pretty much entirely from here, and it took on its own thing.
And you know what, as well, I also saw this movie after watching and rewatching and loving the bejesus out of the remake of Night of the Living Dead from the early 90s, which I will ask the Cinema Swirl fan base, help us out. Where should Sam watch that? Should he watch it behind the paywall here on Cinema Swirl, or somewhere in between, like David Hasselhoff saying he's looking for freedom as the paywall falls?
At the same time, I imagine that film is in the private domain. And I can't
very
stress
much
enough how much this film, being as available as it is boosting its rating in my mind. The fact that, like, this is so accessible. Like, it feels like a historical document that is freely available for children in schools to look at.
It's one of these movies that was, put in the Library of Congress type of a thing, like it is considered to be, by historians, a film of significance. And, I think there's a million things that we didn't talk about as well in terms of its significance. The fact that, like, it's a movie that doesn't have a love story in it. It was one of the first movies that did that. It was a movie that had a lot of difficulty being distributed initially, which is so funny when it's so absurdly ubiquitous now. Like, it was so hard to actually get distributed that originally they started playing it on matinees only. So the first people who saw this were, like, young children in the late 60s, which is fucking mad. But anyway, this movie spurned off, like, midnight screenings and, late night cinema, and, like, a huge subculture, you could argue, was born out of this movie itself. So it is really significant in ways that we've even begun to broach here. But I'm not asking you about a star wipe rating for significance or importance. We're not submitting this podcast into the Library of Congress because the deep state would probably upload it on a loose audio format to begin with. Sam, I want to know your star wipe rating, your feelings, your thoughts on Night of the Living Dead 1968.
I feel like I've got a real opportunity here to piss off the Cinema Swirl statisticians, because
I'm one of those.
I feel like this is not a 3 and it's not a 2.5.
Oh, fucking hell! Don't do this to me now.
But I don't think I can go full pitchfork rating and give this, like, I don't think decimals need to come into this. So I'm gonna.
I keep telling you, Sam, whole numbers is the safest place.
No, right. You know what? The significance and the history comes into it, I say. 3 star wipes.
You heard it here first.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Cinema Swirl. This episode was produced by Kevin, edited by me, Sam, and I also did the music. If you want to support the show, then patreon.com/Cinema Swirl is the way to go. If you want to follow us on the socials, we're at Cinema Swirl on Twitter and facebook.com/Cinema Swirl on Facebook, which is where our votes for episodes take place. If you've got questions, queries, comments, or anything else for the mailbag, then send it on over to cinemaswirl@gmail.com. That's cinemaswirl@gmail.com. Please do keep recommending the show to your friends if you think they'll like it, or even if you don't think they'll like it, just recommend it anyway. All right, we'll see you next time. Cheers, bye.
They ought to make the day the time changes, the first day of summer.
What?
Well, it's 8 o'clock and it's still light.
A lot of good the extra daylight does us. Now, we've still got a 3-hour drive back. We're not going to be home until after midnight.
Well, if it really bugged you, Johnny, you wouldn't do it.
You think I want to blow Sunday on a scene like this? You know, I figure we're either going to have to move Mother out here or move the grave into Pittsburgh.
She can't make a trip like this.
Oh, you know that she can't? Is there any of that candy left?
No.
Look at this thing. We still remember. I don't. You know, I don't even remember what the man looks like.
Johnny, it takes you 5 minutes.
Yeah, 5 minutes to put the wreath on the grave and 6 hours to drive back and forth. Mother wants to remember, so we trot 200 miles into the country and she stays at home.
Well, we're here, John, all right?
Test. We're back on? Oh. Ladies and
Hey,
gentlemen, we're coming back on the air after an interruption due to technical problems.